Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. Miyuki bowed to the Gordons and said, "I'm very pleased to meet you. Masumi has said many nice things about you." "Thank you very much, Miyuki. You weren't at Mike and Masumi's wedding, were you?" "I would have remembered such a pretty girl," Mrs. Gordon said. Miyuki, blushing a little and thinking just as quickly as Masumi, said, "No. I was so sorry to miss the wedding. But I was studying in England and couldn't make it back in time. That was a shame." "So, you came to visit Masumi and Mike?" "Yes. It's the first time that I was able to get away. I hope you have a good time while you are here." "I know I will, Mrs. Gordon." Everyone chatted for a while. After about an hour, the Gordons excused themselves, but not before insisting that Masumi and Miyuki have dinner with them before they left. And the girls agreed that they would. It was getting late, and everyone was hungry. So, instead of cooking, they ordered in pizza and just sat around and chatted. Paul was beginning to become very comfortable around his new sister. That night, as Masumi and Miyuki were getting ready for bed, Masumi walked up to Miyuki and said, "You know, lover, it's been too long since we made love. And I'm interested in finding out what it's like to make love with you now that you are almost a girl. Think it will be much different?" "Yeah, much different." With that, Masumi wrapped her arms around Miyuki and gave her a very deep kiss, which was returned. Miyuki then picked her up and carried to the bed. When Mike had dressed either as Michelle or Miyuki, it had been a turn-on for Masumi, but now having the new Miyuki making love to her was beyond that, much beyond. Feeling Miyuki's soft skin and breasts, looking at her pretty face, Masumi was over the edge like never before. It was a long, pleasurable night. As she was falling asleep, Masumi said, "Lover, that was really different. And I want more. Much more." The following morning, Miyuki kissed Masumi to wake her up. It took 3 or 4 kisses to accomplish it, but finally her eyes opened. She smiled and said, "I love you." "I love you too. I smell breakfast cooking." After the late breakfast, the twins wanted to go to the park. It was only a block and a half way, so everyone walked. Paul took charge of the twins, and Mrs. Gifford, Ruth, Masumi, and Miyuki sat at a picnic table and talked. The subject of a girls' night out came up, and they decided that they would go out tonight, have dinner, and go to a local bar. As they were walking back to the house, Masumi and Miyuki fell behind the others. They were holding hands like two lovers, neither thinking it was strange that they were holding hands with another girl. Masumi looked up at Miyuki and asked, "You asked me if last night was different for me. Was it different for you? Making love to a girl with you feeling and looking like a girl." "Yes, it was different. It felt so right. You made me feel so good. But I look at it as two souls making love, no matter what they look like. So, you don't mind if I have some lesbian tendencies? Only if they're with me. You know it, lover." At this point, a car pulled up next to them, and the passenger's side window rolled down. A voice said, "I thought that was you, Masumi." Masumi bent down, looked in the window, and it was Kathy Ryder. Kathy had a thing for Mike in high school, and almost had a fight with Masumi over him. She later came out as being a lesbian. "Hello, Kathy. How are you?" "I'm doing great." "Who's your friend?" "I'm sorry. This is my friend Miyuki from Japan. She's visiting while Mike is out of the country." "Miyuki, this is Kathy Ryder, a friend from high school." Miyuki said, "Pleased to meet you, Kathy." "Nice to meet you, Miyuki. I heard that Mike was working for the government." "It's nice to have a friend to keep you company," Kathy said with a wink. Masumi let the comment slide and said, "It's really good seeing you again. We had better catch up with the others." "Sure thing. Maybe we'll see you two later on. Bye." With that, Kathy drove off. Masumi said to Miyuki, "Did you catch her comment?" "No, but I'm surprised that she stopped and said hello, knowing the way you two hated each other in high school." "You didn't catch her comment about friend and the way she said it?" "No." "What?" "Well, I think she saw us holding hands. And I bet she figures that when Mike is gone, I play around with the girls. I don't really care what she thinks." "Me either. In fact, I don't care what anyone thinks, Masumi said as she kissed Miyuki. That night, Paul watched the twins and the four girls went out on the town. They had a great dinner and stopped a very nice bar afterwards for a nightcap. Miyuki's mom really loved these times with her three girls. It was like having three daughters. That night, Masumi took over the lovemaking, and it was another erotic night for the two girls. On the drive home, after the twins had fallen asleep, the girls talked about trying to find a new house. They felt it was time that the twins each had their own room. They also knew it would be a fight getting them into separate bedrooms, but a growing boy and a girl needed privacy. Mike is really gone. Soon after they arrived home in Washington, Miyuki called Mr. Warner. She filled him in on what had happened in California and about having to see the dermatologist for some finishing touches. Mr. Warner told Miyuki that they needed her to start at the Japanese embassy as soon as possible and that everything was in place. As they talked, Miyuki became very quiet and didn't say too much. Masumi did heard her say a few things. I see. Yes, I understand. It's probably for the best. That's soon, and finally, I'll talk with her about it. After she hung up the phone, Miyuki sat very quietly for a long time. And Masumi knew that she would talk to her when she was ready. Miyuki got up and fixed them both drinks. Walked back, handed Masumi hers, sat next to her, and put her arm around her shoulder, cuddling her close. No longer able to hold it in, Masumi said, "Okay. What's wrong?" "Nothing really. But I guess everything is final." "Final?" "Uh-huh. They want to have a star ceremony for Mike." "A star ceremony? Remember that one time you visited the department? There was a wall with stars on it?" "Yes. And I explained that they placed a star on that wall for anyone who died in the line of duty." "Yes. And that there are never any names placed with them." "Yes. Well, when they place a star on that wall, they have a small ceremony for the person's immediate family. And they want to hold a ceremony like that for Mike." "Oh, I see." "Yeah, final. Kind of really final." "Yeah, they want to do it the day after tomorrow. Kind of quick, too. They seem to think it's best to end any trail of Mike, I guess." 2 days later, Masumi and Miyuki were sitting and listening to Mr. Warner give a short speech about Mike. And his star was placed on the wall. They were only 3 people there, other than Mr. Warner. Masumi, Miyuki, Mike's immediate supervisor. After it was over, Mr. Warner, who hadn't seen Miyuki since she returned from California, took her aside for a minute. He said, "I know that this was hard, but we needed to do it. We needed to have Mike disappear before Miyuki started at the embassy. Also, we wanted everyone in the department to think that Mike is gone. And when the embassy thing is over, there will be a place in the department for Miyuki if she wants it." "Thank you, sir," Miyuki said. It was hard seeing that star go on the wall. "But in looking at myself, I guess Mike is really gone. One other thing that you might want to do is find a new house. That will help break the ties even more. We were thinking about that. The twins need separate bedrooms." "How are they taking this?" "They're used to having either Mike or Miyuki around, but never together. And Mike hasn't been around for a long time. When they get older and everything is settled down, we'll tell them as much as we can." "Good. Now, take Masumi out for a nice lunch. And they're expecting you at the embassy on the 1st of next month." "Thank you, sir." Mr. Warner went to shake Miyuki's hand. But she bowed to him, he smiled, and returned the bow. The girls went out for a nice lunch and sat and talked. Miyuki finally said, with a big sigh, "Well, now it is final. Mike is dead, and you're going to be rich." "No, Mike will never be dead. He will always be in your heart and mine." "Rich?" "Yep. They insure employees for a lot of money, just in case something happens. And if I know the department, they will follow protocol just to make it look right, and you will receive the insurance benefits." Miyuki paused and just looked at Masumi, finally saying, "I love you so much. I really don't know how you've put up with all of this." "It's because I love you more than you love me," Masumi said, with a smile and a wink. "No way. I love you more." They bantered back and forth for a while, until Miyuki leaned over and kissed Masumi. It raised a few eyebrows with other patrons, but the girls didn't care. Later that afternoon, they visited Dr. Pierce, the dermatologist that Dr. Berlin had recommended. He told them basically what Dr. Berlin had told them, that there were skin dyes that were almost permanent, that would make Miyuki's skin tone just like Misumi's. And that he could do the skin dyeing today if she wanted. He also explained that he used the same laser hair removal technique that Dr. Berlin used, and that he would like to do about 6 treatments over the same number of weeks. Miyuki decided to have the skin dye done while they were there. The doctor tried a few non-permanent ones on her arm until the 3 of them were happy with the results. Finally, he mixed up the permanent dye, had Miyuki undress, and applied the dye evenly over her body with a spray gun. After a short time, he had her take a shower to rinse off any remaining dye. Then, he went over her body looking for any missed spots and proclaimed it done. The girls compared arms and were surprised to see how close Miyuki's skin tone was to Misumi's. As Miyuki was dressing, the doctor explained that she shouldn't take a shower or bath for 2 days to let the dye really work. And that the dye would last a good year before it started to fade, then would need to be reapplied, and that if there was a problem to contact him. Miyuki thanked the doctor and made an appointment for her first laser hair treatment 4 days later. The next day the girls started looking for a new townhouse with 3 bedrooms. It took them about 2 weeks to find something they liked, and they took it. And they were right, getting the twins into separate bedrooms was a fight. Over the next 2 years, Misumi finished her doctoral program and started doing clinical research at Georgetown. And Miyuki started working at the Japanese embassy, doing her undercover assignment. After she started at the embassy, it was almost 3 months before Miyuki was approached by the people at the embassy that she hoped would approach her. It took another 2 months before she was fully accepted in the group, and fully another year before she was deep inside the group. She was finally able to detail the full operation and everyone involved. After she turned the information over to Mr. Warner, everyone, including Miyuki, was arrested. Miyuki, to keep her cover. Those that were Japanese citizens were deported and tried in Japan. They made it look like Miyuki went to Japan, but she really went into hiding for a few months so that it looked as if she had been deported with the others. It was hard on her staying in hiding that long, but she had to do it. Mr. Warner did call her and said how happy the Japanese ambassador and government was. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.